The following podcast is a presentation of Project Entertainment Network.
Welcome to the Sample Chapter Podcast, the show where authors read a sample chapter from one of their books. Here's your host, Jason A. Meiske.
Hello, my friends, and welcome to episode 110 of the Sample Chapter Podcast. I am your host, Jason A. Meiske, thriller author, and, I know, I don't sound thrilled today, but it's been a hell of a week, hasn't it, for all of us here in America. It's kind of crazy to think that a week ago still, the coronavirus scare was still kind of it's not really going to be a thing, it might be a thing, oh crap, it is a thing. And, now here we are. Things are shutting down, everybody's going home, and just like everybody else, Planet Comic-Con, my opportunity to go and do that, I've been really looking forward to it, but, it's a small price to pay, I think. We're faced with one of those situations right now where we're looking at the bigger picture, something beyond just ourselves. And I hope everybody listening sees that. I hope that you all understand that part of this, that nobody's going to be happy about this. But at the same time, we're all going to be happy in a few weeks when it's settled down and we're able to move on. And if you're one of those who can move on past this, then you're the fortunate ones, because there's going to be some people who don't. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to get so somber on you, and that's not what I'm going to do in this episode either, but I just want to encourage everybody out there to hang in there. I know I've got listeners all over the world, and here in America, we've got just a small sample so far of what other countries have been dealing with. Italy, I know, has been a listener of this show and still listening. I've been seeing the downloads. God bless you, everybody over there in Italy and everywhere across Europe and Asia, Australia, every continent. I've got downloads, and I just want you all to know that I am praying for you, and I really hope for the best for you wherever you are. I invite you to reach out to me, whether it's on social media. I've got the Facebook and Twitter. Reach out to me. Let me know where you are. Let me know how you're doing. I would love to hear from you. I'd love to encourage you. And, of course, you can always reach out to me personally at samplechapterpodcast@gmail.com. And we can just correspond through email like that. For those of us having to go home and not work for the next couple of weeks, I want to encourage you as well to try to find that silver lining in this. Focus on your family. Focus on friends. Focus on what you can do to help. Think about the things that you've always wanted to do. That's one thing about this situation we're going through right now is we're all always in such a hurry. I was too. I still fall into that trap of never having enough time for everything that I wanted to do, and, pushing away the things I wanted to start, like being an author. And then I find out, in the midst of me working 2 jobs and trying to handle, raising a family and such, and then I find out I'm going to be a grandpa. And it kind of, threw that bucket of cold water on me, realizing, oh my gosh, life is getting away from me. So maybe you, the listener, could be in that situation now, trying to find something to do the next couple of weeks. You're trying to find something to pass the time. I think this is a good opportunity to go ahead and start tackling that dream. If you've wanted to be an author, if you've wanted to create something, if you wanted to paint the house, if there was something you wanted to do, maybe you wanted to teach your kids something that you've never had time for before this moment. It's a great opportunity we have to be a little introspective and look at what we have, because tomorrow is never guaranteed, but you still have today. And I think everybody around the world, we're all dealing with this thing in one way or another, and I think we can all be better together once this is over with. I think we can all come together afterwards. I look forward to that. All right. Well, I didn't want to go off on any kind of a tangent, but it seems that I kind of have. I'm not going to dive into a whole lot of other things this week. I'm going to keep this portion of it a little bit short. But rest assured, the show will go on. I have a bunch of authors lined up already, recorded and ready to go. I'm going to have some time to do some more editing on future shows and on my own book that I still plan on releasing this month, or April 1st is what I'm shooting for. So I'm going to tackle those things. I'm going to tackle the things I want to do. I think we should all try to do that too. Think about what's going to make you happy and reach for it. And don't forget the ones around you while you're at it. Well, I do need to say a quick thank you for all my friends and sponsors alike. U-Stor-All, of course, the #1 self-storage facility in Warrensburg, Missouri. Check them out online at U-Store-All.net. That's spelled the letter U, STORALL.net. Scrivener writing software is the best writing software you can use. It's made for writers by writers. Pop Culture Network. They feature a whole bunch of pop culture news, podcasts, blogs, everything pop culture related right there at your fingertips at popculture.com. And of course, Project Entertainment Network with, I think, fast approaching 30 shows perhaps on the network now. Tons of shows to tune in and check out. As many podcasts as you could listen to for the next few weeks. Right there available between the two networks, Pop Culture Network and Project Entertainment. Hey, I'm going to have an advertisement for one of those shows on Project Entertainment. We're going to have the advertisement from Scrivener. And then we're going to have our interview with this week's guest, Miranda Oh. And Miranda was a lot of fun to talk to. She always is. And and she's definitely good for a lot of laughs whenever we get a chance to talk. We're going to find out about her latest book, Just Breathe, which is book 3 of her series. It is available right now, came out a few weeks ago, back in February. We hear about her podcast called Quill and Ink that she now does with previous guest, Jenna Greene. They do this together, and that was exciting to hear about. And we're going to hear about an upcoming series that she is working on as well. And what's really fun is during her chapter reading, you're going to hear why lunch dates are the perfect trial date and the alphabet of reasons that the date went bad. Those things and more coming up right after a word from our sponsor and Project Entertainment. Jason here. Hey, I wanted to take a moment and tell you about my favorite writing tool, Scrivener. Now, I know you've heard about Scrivener because their writing software has been embraced by hundreds of thousands of other writers like you and I, from the novice to best-selling novelists. The reason we all use it is because of Scrivener's core concept to bring all the writing tools you use together in a single application. And with tools like automatic backup, character maps, project goals, and let's not forget that amazing corkboard, you can see why I use Scrivener every day. As a bonus for Sample Chapter Podcast listeners, use code CHAPTER for 20% off your desktop version. Scrivener writing software, built by writers for writers.
Hello, is anybody out there? Anybody. This is Jim Cobb. If you are hearing this, the worst has happened. I've recorded a podcast at the end of the world and will broadcast it on channel PEN every Friday. It's all about the apocalypse, books, movies, TV, how much food and water will you need in your bunker, all that kind of stuff.
Excuse me, sir. You're gonna have to keep the noise down. You're in a library, and you're scaring the kids. The world hasn't ended yet.
Sorry, ma'am.
Shh. You're in the library at the end of the world with host Jim Cobb.
Fridays, exclusively on Project Entertainment Network.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Sample Chapter Podcast. This week, we're continuing the trend. That's right. We have another 2020 look back and welcoming a guest from our past. This week, it is Miranda Oh. You remember her from the Chin Ups and Tits Out series. Miranda is your typical girl. She loves the sunset, long walks on the beach, world travels, and when not playing the corporate part, she can be found sipping wine and spending all of her hard-earned money on shoes. Miranda, welcome back to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me. Super thrilled to be back.
Yes, oh, I am too. How did things go with book 2 in the series?
Book 2 blew up. Then book 3, Hiroshima blew up. For like my expectations anyways. So it's honestly, every time I get a new opportunity or I speak to my publicist, there's new things coming down the line, and really great feedback all around, really great reviews, and that just is a testament to the effort that I attempted to put through into the series over the 5 years. So it's been a wild ride.
Yes. Well, so how have you been in this time? I know you've had, like you said, quite the wild ride since the fall when we spoke.
Oh yeah, the publishing process was it's always insane, as we were talking a little bit earlier, is like you go into the editing process, and then you realize that maybe there's a little bit more extra work that you got to get done, and then you go into the publishing portion and you're like, oh my gosh, there's more work that needs to be done, or it's this so daunting. And I went through the fall and early in 2020 just like this nervous ball of energy going, oh my God, I just need to get this out. I just need to get this out. I just need to get it out. and then I got it out, and I was like, like I can't tell you. I didn't realize. I don't think I slept for like the last month prior to officially launching the book and having a celebration locally. And since then, sleep has been, lovely, and I'm so happy. I'm like, yes. It's actually great right now. I'm so thrilled about it. So, yeah, it's good.
Well, good. That's much deserved. So I know when you were on here and you read from book 2, it got quite the reception. Lots of people talking about it. So, and then I followed a little bit. Of course, we have our mutual contact with Mickey over at Creative Edge, and he's been all about sharing all of your books all the time. So that's been a lot of fun to watch.
Oh, it's Mickey. I mean, you can't go. Mickey Mickelson is a special human being. I absolutely love working with him, and he's like my diehard as I am his. Like right back to day one when both of us embarked on his publicity journey, and me as a writer was it has been a wild ride together, and I'm so glad. Like the statement "Together we are better" is totally true. Like without Mickey, I would not be where I am, and I mean, he would probably be where he is without me, but I might have just sparked the idea, and I'm happy for that.
Well, they say rising tide lifts all boats, so I think
Right.
that is true.
Right? Yeah, you're right.
So, I mean, now is this the end of the series with book 3 that you've got today? Just Breathe is the title. Is this the end of it?
Yes, this is the end, and I'm so thrilled that it's the end. Like it took me 5 years to get it all out, but I was very happy that I got it all out, and it took a little while because like the last like out of 5 years, I wrote the first 2 in the first 2 years, and then I wrote the last one, the third one, in 3 years. And people were like, well, why did it take you so long? I needed to live my ending. Like I didn't know how to end it. I needed to learn the life lessons that I was meant to learn in order to turn around and write about it in a way that made sense to me on how to go into my life and practice all the things that I've learned. So it definitely was a huge learning curve and like life experience that I had to go through in order to get book 3 out. But now that it's out, it leads to open opportunities, which I have a next series coming, and it's the end of the Chin Up Tits Out series, but it's definitely not the end of what you'll see from me and kind of the I guess the way that I write. I don't know if that's the way that it's going to come out, but talking about really, really heavy stuff, but always finding a kind of a silver lining to it, always trying to be positive and, laughing in the darkest, twisted times.
Yeah, it's your voice.
Yeah, it is. I found it, and it worked out pretty well for the first series, and I like my voice, the inner voice. For the most part, she's pretty cool, and so I found a way to share that, and I want to continue to do that. So my next series is pretty big. It involves a lot of research, and I'm embarking on it already, and it's wild ride is not even words that I can use. It's like eyes wide open journey. So I'm excited to share that with the world.
Oh, that's exciting. Now, do you have a name for that? And is there anything you can tell us, like what this is, like a kind of an idea of what it's about?
Oh yeah, of course. I am 100% down to share. So in August last year, and forgive me, I don't know if we talked about this last time. And if we did, you can remind me. And if we didn't, then I'll give you a quick summary. In August, I was diagnosed with two conditions. One is endometriosis, and the other one is adenomyosis. Both of them are conditions that are found, or I guess start in the reproductive system. They're really not treatable or curable. There's a lot of mystery around the diseases. They're pretty painful, and because they're inside, they're kind of invisible to the regular public. And that hit me out of absolutely nowhere. I was perfectly healthy and an able-bodied human being that would, work out multiple times a day, 4 or 5 times a week, have multiple jobs, own businesses, do this, that, and baking fat and loved life. And then all of a sudden, I am running and I feel like my insides are going to fall out of me, or I started puking every day for no good reason. So all this kind of stuff came out to me really, really quickly, and I was like, holy man. Then I got a diagnosis, and just like my first series, you go through really heavy stuff, and it's the most ridiculous thing, and you're like, how does anybody live like this? But the truth is, these conditions affect 1 in 10 women worldwide, which means roughly 175 million women worldwide are suffering with this right now. So I'm not alone. But how do you connect with people? So I'm again trying to tailor that voice through my next series. So it's going to be based on endometriosis. But my story is one story out of 175 million. So I can't interview that many people, but I can interview 100 people. So I made a call for action on the 1st of March, because March is Endometriosis Awareness Month. And I said, hey, this is my idea. This is what I want to write about. I want to talk to you. I want to hear your stories, and I'm going to somehow web them and intertwine them into a series of books, a 3-part series. And each of the series is going to depict a different decade. So women in their 20s, women in their 30s, women in their 40s, because the disease plus life represents very differently in those decades. Like for a female in their 20s, they're trying to figure themselves out, trying to figure out your sexuality. Then in the 30s, it's all about baby making and motherhood and creating a family. And then 40s, menopause. So I'm like, wow, let's have fun with this. So I'm interviewing women from around the world. I have gotten, I've started chatting with doctors worldwide, world-known, surgeons and specialists. Like it blew up so fast in the 11 days. I have 25% of my interviews booked already. And I haven't followed up on, half the people that have reached out, just because I've been so busy, and I'm booking into the middle of April already for these interviews, because it takes time. Like each of them is an hour. I sit on webcam with them. I record the conversation, and that's after they fill out a questionnaire for me. So they send me a questionnaire. I review the questionnaire. They book the appointment, and for the appointment, I have follow-up questions from the questionnaire. I get their reactions, their thoughts, their feelings, their fears. Like I see what they look like, how they talk about it when they're talking about really tough stuff. And so that I'm using to mold characters, or a series of characters, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like, to me, that is the most exciting thing, because every single person you talk to, their inner voice and that inner character and their perspective is so different, yet all of us are suffering from the same thing, and we're all suffering similarly, yet our lives are so vastly different. And so, like, that brings us together. And so that's what I hope on doing on the third series, or this second series, and it's called, drum roll please, it's called Love My Lady Bits.
Okay.
Yeah, because you're going to be like, what? Sorry, what? Oh, yeah. Sorry, what?
I get it though.
Right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, like, because, I mean, like, at the end of the day, these doctors, and you're going to be told, like, it's just this kind of your SOL, man. So I'm like, all right, cool. Like, let's make the best of SOL. Like, if life is going to hand me lemons, I'm going to find the best darn tequila I can and sip my life and enjoy it, you know?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm trying to do with this. And it's a process of a way of healing for me as well, and a way of connecting with the most incredibly strong women that I've crossed paths with to date.
Oh my goodness. And I can only relate to some of that myself, as far as like when it comes to the interviews and the time and trying to catch up with, all the authors that I have lined up out, sometimes a couple of months ahead of time. And then the influences when it comes to the writing. I mean, you are intentionally looking for these influences in their stories, whereas for me, writing a completely different kind of fictional story, like my next one is about writers, and I find myself writing all of my writing friends into this story using different names, but still it's I know it's them, and it's amazing where our influences can come from, whether by accident or intentional in your case.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And I told what I do is I set up the interview in such a way, so they do a questionnaire that leads them to a booking process. They book the interview. So then I print their questionnaire, I review it, like I said, and come prepared to our interview to basically have a discussion and provoke further conversation from their questionnaire. And so what I do before we even start, I introduce myself and I talk about chin up, tits out, and I talk about that mentality and how that got me my diagnosis, which led me to this series. Then I share with them comfortable topics. They're positioning their answers in a way that they know what I'm looking for, so they're giving that to me. You know what I mean? Like, I took me months to set up this process, and every interview that it's going to refine by the hundredth, I'm going to be a pro. But it's, like every interview you're getting these golden nuggets, and you're just like, man, this is so good. Like, hold on a minute, pause, like, say that again. Yeah. It's like, it is absolutely amazing. And I know that outside of this series, being able to connect literally 100 women that didn't know each other before this, it will do that. But I think it's going to allow me to grow as a human leaps and bounds, just because you're putting every single thing that you go into on a daily basis into context when you're dealing or you're talking with people that, again, have it so much different than you do, but is right up there in the similarities. And it's really eyes wide opening. Like, it is like, okay, I'm not alone, as much as I feel alone and want to feel sorry for myself. Like, there are people that are going through it equally as bad, if not worse in some cases.
Wow.
So suck it up, buttercup.
But it certainly sounds like you have a lot of empathy with these people, so that way you're relating to what they're saying and making yourself open to those feelings, which I think, like you said, that does help you grow as a person, not just as an author, but as a person as well. That's really amazing.
Yeah, I'm attempting to, right? Like, the more you talk about tough feelings, the easier it becomes. And I'm asking these women to open up and talk to me about medications they're on, side effects they're experiencing, how this has affected their sex life, how it's affected their careers, like there's like no topic or no stone goes unturned in that 60 minutes. And at first I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be draining for me. But then you are asking these women who some of them have suffered in silence for 15, 20, 30 years. And I'm asking them to open up to me. They're loving it. And then they're the ones that are like exhausted. They just laid it out all on the stage for me. And then I send them a thank you afterwards. And like, you have no idea how good I feel after I just released all of that. And I said, yes, like, man, like I realized that writing and sharing the deepest, darkest stuff is such a release. So all these women have this opportunity, and I'm just a sponge. I'm soaking it all in because it's going to turn out amazing into these stories, right? The rawer, the realer, the better, because I can turn that into words that evoke that type of emotion. And that's really what I want to do, because that relates us and makes us all kind of feel a little more human.
I couldn't agree more. That's really incredible. And you're doing all of this, you're still working a corporate job then too during the day.
During the day, I work my corporate job. I'm doing maximum 11 hours of interviews a week. I also launched a podcast at the end of the year as well. So we do 2 to 3 episodes a month. So that's 1 hour a week. And then I'm full-time Airbnb. So I'm booked about 90 to 95%
Oh my
of
gosh.
the month.
All right. What is your podcast? You got to tell us that so we can go find it.
Yeah, for sure. It's on SoundCloud and YouTube. It's through Authors on the Air Global Network. My podcast name is called Quill and Ink, a podcast for book lovers.
I have seen that name popping up. I've been meaning to tune into that, so now I definitely will.
Yeah. Me and my co-host, Miss Jenna Greene. Both of us are Canadians. Both of us are represented by Mickey Mickelson at Creative Edge. And we are just having an absolute blast. Like, I love talking about my books. Don't get me wrong. I think you can tell. But, like, to hear other people's stories, oh my God, that's like proverbially, I'm not saying that right, but I think you know what I'm trying to say. It's filling my cup up. Like, it just fills up my cup with extra life because people are sharing their passions with me. And it is heartwarming, and it makes me feel so wonderful every single time I talk to somebody.
You are preaching to the choir, sister.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's just, like, you sit there and, like, you look at the books, you hold them, you feel them, you read them, you watch other podcasts, and you're like, oh, yeah, okay. But then it's like that interaction that you have with them, it just kind of it makes it real. Even though it's still, like, online, it still kind of makes it real because we're talking about stuff that, Jenna and I do our research and want to talk about. And we really try to get our authors to talk about, what inspires them, and like, how do we make these people that have written books, that have traveled to bajillion places in the world, that are super successful in their craft, like, how do we make them relatable to us average Joes, who kind of want to think about doing this but are too scared to do it, or, have an idea but don't want to pursue it. And so our goal is to always try to make this like relatable and fun. And I laugh so hard I cry or I snort almost every episode.
Well, what's especially fun for me on this, and like I said, I've seen the name of the show popping up, but I didn't know that you were on it, or that your partner, Jenna Greene, who has also been a previous guest, and I had to just double check and make sure, but I just verified that, yeah, I had you on one episode, and Jenna was the very next episode on my show. So yes,
awesome.
I will definitely have to.
That's good planning from Mickey's point of view, hey?
So I'm definitely going to have to tune in and check this out.
Yeah, of course. Let us know what you think.
I will do that. So, all right, so let's get into book 3 from the Chin Up series, Just Breathe. Now, where did we leave off? Is it spoilery to say where book 2 ends and this one begins?
No, it's not. Like, everybody, I think you don't want to know how it ends because you know how it ends. If that makes
Sure.
Does that make sense? Like,
Yeah.
it's like the worst case scenario. You're like, please don't let it happen. Please don't let it happen. But then it happens, and you're like, oh crap. So that's how book 2 ends. And then book 3 is like, how do you figure out how to get off of rock bottom? Like, you've hit rock bottom now. This is what rock bottom is like, and how do you figure your life out now? You know, what's the first step look like, and you know, what does the 100th step look like, and what does the 1,000th step look like? You know, just like if you're a recovering addict, like those markers, those day markers are as important for somebody going through such a lot of such trauma. And those steps of recovery and self-discovery are so important. It's, you know, it's a huge mental game. So this book really takes you through the process of finding rock bottom and getting through some of the toughest, you know, situations. Like, you've gone through some of the toughest things. The outcomes have now played out. Now you got to live them and learn your lessons. What are your lessons?
Okay. All right. And what can you tell us about this chapter that we're going to be hearing today? Like, do you need to set the scene?
Well, I typically read from my prologues, but this book, like my third book, you know how you're not supposed to have favorite children? Well, I've never birthed children before, so this is my favorite child. So, this book is my favorite child, so I'm not going to just limit you to the prologue. I'm flipping into chapter 4, and so this is called Lunch Dates and Emails. So, Hadley, our main character, has been single now for a little while, and is attempting to get back into the dating scene. So just before this chapter starts, she has a little episode where in a bar where a guy tries to dance with her, and it just is a disaster. So this episode goes into lunch dates and emails. So yeah, that's how I set the scene for us, and I'm gonna read through that, and that should take us to a good chunk of time. And you're just gonna, I hope you enjoy this, because I feel like I might enjoy this. Ooh, okay.
Well, just like last time, I've had a wonderful time talking to you, and I know everybody's going to want to find out where to find and follow you. So where can everybody do that?
You can find me on social media platforms, Miranda Oh, that's O-H, or hashtag Chin Up Tits Out. You can also visit mirandao.com, again, that's O-H, and you can find my work on any Amazon platform worldwide. Just Chin Up Tits Out, and then you'll find me. It's there, all 3 books.
Outstanding. Yep, and we'll have links for all of that and the podcast in the show notes, so everybody can click those links and get right on over there, check all of this, follow her everywhere, and see what's going on in the world of Miranda Oh. Thank you so much for being, yet again, a wonderful guest. And ladies and gentlemen, Miranda Oh with Just Breathe.
Out with the old and in with the new. That was what I kept telling myself for the weeks following the very public episode with Lesha at the bar. I was determined to fill my brain up with new memories as fast as possible, in hope that old painful memories would fade away into the depths of my subconscious. I thought long and hard about what I could do to create lots of different positive memories while staying within budget. Now, Ryan left me with a mountain of debt, the bulk of it compounding on my credit card from purchasing multiple prescriptions. Luckily, my family pulled through and collected enough funds for an interest-free loan to help me get it off my credit card. Now, at this point, I didn't really want to fight over money. I knew that I would never get it back. His family flipped couch cushions to collect enough cash to merely get his mother to Canada, let alone to pay off the tens of thousands of dollars sitting on my credit card. Money can always be remade. Desperate to put my past in the past, as Dr. D, my therapist, had suggested, I had to find a way to create an exciting future. Clearly, internet dating was my solution, right? Oh dear God, what was I getting myself into? I had to take this plunge. I felt I needed to do something and couldn't come up with a better idea. Who cared if it was right or wrong? I needed new experiences in my brain, enough of Ryan and all the shitstorms that I ran into over and over and over again. I didn't want to join a free dating site that would just have people looking for a casual hookup. I wanted serious people. I didn't want to be screwed around, so I decided to join Match.com. You know, they have those advertisements anywhere, and they said they have a free month. Like I said, a budget-friendly beginning. So I figured I would do 1 month free and then pay for a month, and then by that time, I would have found some sort of solace and peace within my brain, maybe, hopefully. This was one of the most successful dating apps in Canada, or so they said so why not try it out? I tried to convince myself that it was a good idea. 50% of me wanted my brain to stop reliving the last moments of Ryan, and the other 50% of my brain was too scared to come to terms with the fact that my marriage actually failed. I didn't want to fail again, and I didn't want to be reminded of failing. I felt like I was stuck between a rock and a hard place. Let's just put something out there, though. When I say failing, the first thing that comes into mind is that I Hadley failed at my marriage. Although on the contrary, we aren't responsible for someone else's actions. I wasn't the one who left. The internal battle raged over who and what to feel guilty about, failed marriage or failed self-love. God only knows. I was striving to wrap my brain around self-love. The first day on Match was like a first day hunting for a new job, scrolling through pages of opportunities, trying to find something that piqued my curiosity slightly. I swiped on anything and everything that looked even the least bit interesting in an attempt to open myself up to something different, everything different. I didn't know what I liked or didn't like since I had met Ryan just a couple months after I turned 18. Then we had a long-distance relationship for years. I didn't even know all the things that I didn't know. It was time to explore all those options, see what the world had to offer, what worked for me and what didn't. Within a couple days, I had 3 lunch dates set up. Yep, lunch dates. You know why? Because it's a genius first internet date plan. Here's why. Number 1, it's daytime, so it's less likely to have spooky dark corners and creepy shit. People clearly can see both of you in public. Number 2, my lunch for work was an hour, which is a perfect time to meet someone without getting caught in a situation where I needed to GTFO ASAP. Number 3, typically lunch dates include 1 cocktail at most, depending on who you're with. There is 0 room for the drunk a-hole behavior. Number 4, if I didn't make it back to work in time, my bosses would get worried and send a search party, or so I'd like to think so. Number 5, lunch meals were cheaper. These were the 5 reasons I told myself this would not fail. I wish I had something interesting to tell you about those lunch dates, though. But really, absolutely nothing was worth saying. I mean, they had the whitest of white guy names, Matt, Josh, and Kevin, or something like that. They played hockey, drank beer, and drove big trucks. The last of which made me think they had small you-know-whats. I mean, like, how could I not think that after they raved about the size of their trucks for the majority of the date? So they were all strikeouts. This was so disheartening. I came home at the end of the day after the 3rd miserable lunch date. I walked right into the kitchen, opened up a bottle of wine, poured a big glass of wine, sat in the dark by myself, and drank it, running through all these stupid dates in my head, feeling defeated and hopeless. Maybe I wasn't likable, maybe I was too picky, or maybe I was looking for the impossible. Wait, what was I looking for? Good question. I should probably have been looking to myself for this answer instead of some random dude from Match.com. Maybe changing my approach was what I needed to do. So I started to email back and forth with a man named Pete. This was quite fun. His emails were well constructed and well written, and I enjoyed emailing with him a few times. When we finally decided to meet, I had a bucket full of knowledge about him. I just didn't know how I would feel when we met. He was mediocre looking, but his email personality made up for it. He suggested dinner. I didn't do dinner dates for the first internet date. I wouldn't do it. I accepted, though. Then he suggested after dinner we go to horse races because it was his favorite thing and I'd never been before. What could it hurt? New experiences, right? So these 5 hours, yes, 5 hours, might give me great things to fill my head with. I mean, he couldn't be that bad. We conversed via email quite well. So in a worst case scenario situation, we would be friends. I accepted his invitation to the races. Ooh, karma is going to get you. You are going to pay for not following your own rules, Hadley. Enjoy this one. You crazy. Beyond awkward is the best description of how that date went. In between dinner and the horse races, I seriously contemplated pulling a Houdini and disappearing. But the moral, polite human being deep down inside of me decided against it. So I called my brother for backup. He knew to make the 911 call to his big sister within 45 minutes of getting to the horse races. Because calling my baby brother to help rescue me was way better than just ghosting on this guy. Yes, I understand that it was cowardly, but come on, ladies, like we all have done it. We went out for sushi prior to the horse races, and every time I made a move, he commented on it. We drove our own vehicles to the horse races, thank Buddha. Once we reconnected, it continued. He commented on anything and everything. You drank your sake fast. Is it because you're nervous to being here? You didn't put that whole piece of sushi in your mouth. Is it because you're afraid of looking like a pig at the table? I like your walking pace. It's adequate to mine. Guy, say what? You're tall, but not too tall. Those shoes you're wearing make you taller. I like that. You sit up straight, with good posture. I don't have good posture. My pops would be proud to hear this one. Hey, you want to go half-stairs on the bill? Dude, half-stairs? Just before I was expecting the 911 call from Blake, Pete dropped the bomb. He closed his flip phone and asked, So are you enjoying the races so far? I nodded with a big smile while cringing inside. His eyes looked happy to see that. The horse races themselves were kind of entertaining, so I tried to focus on the races to help pass the time faster. Great! My mom is on her way. She loves the races. You don't mind if she joins us, right? What? Your mom? Oh my God, what do I say? Talk about karma working in my favor, because before I had a chance to answer, my cell phone rang. Oh, thank Buddha. Oh, thank God. Oh, thank the universe. BTW, it's a bright red BlackBerry. His flip phone had nothing on me. It was 2013, man. Get with it. I held my finger up and mouthed sorry 1 second. My brother's high-pitched voice screeched through the phone so he could be heard a few feet away. I need you to come now! It took everything I had not to burst out laughing at the ludicrousness of this exact moment in my life. Blake yelled a bunch of gibberish into the phone and then abruptly hung up. Oh no, is everything okay? Pete asked. Oh, I'm so sorry. My brother is super drunk and he needs you to come get him before he does anything stupid, I blurted. Oh, so you're going? He asked in a dead tone. I nodded as I reached out for a hug to say goodbye. No matter the situation, I always try to be a nice human being. I didn't like him for me, but it doesn't mean he's a bad person. I'm sure he's wicked and cool in his own way. Oh, we're doing that? We're like a hug? He said, stepping back. Oh, wow. I had never received reaction before, and I didn't know what to do, so I stuck my hand out to shake his, and he met it with a fist bump into my palm. All right, cool. Enjoy the rest of your races with your mom, Pete. Goodbye. And I waved as I left. Not even 8 hours later, I got an email from Pete. This was the email of all emails. It's proof of how completely insane internet dating can be. Hadley, what's going on? I hope nothing tragic happened to you and you're alive. I haven't heard anything from you since our date, and my instincts are telling me that you don't know how to turn me down. Don't worry. It's simple as saying sorry, no, thank you, and goodbye. So going on that assumption, I have compiled below for you a list of reasons why I suspect I failed at the date portion. I think this way it's easier for you and more helpful for me. All you have to do is check off any that apply. A, everything is actually good and you just like making me squeam a little. B, I was a general disappointment or a total flake. C, should have paid the entire tab and not gone halfsers. D, bad choice of clothing, something about how I was dressed. E, not flirty enough. F, didn't compliment you. G, came on too strong. H, bad breath. I, should have gotten a haircut. J, I said or did something to offend you. K, I didn't say or do something you were expecting. I, it bothers you that I had once a fiance. M, poor use of chopsticks. N, I seem skinnier than in my pictures. O, concerned about gambling. P, concerned about drinking. Q, upset that I took a different route to the horse races and got there sooner than you. R, didn't ask certain questions about you. S, pronounced your name wrong. T, caught me looking. U, can't be with someone with a Samsung phone from 2002. V, shouldn't have brought up my best friend's nightmare on Elm Street marathon. W, didn't give you my cure for hiccups. X, I had bad posture. Y, I didn't take my jacket off for you when you were cold. Z, I was seated at the sushi restaurant before you arrived. Sorry, I ran out of letters. Hopefully it's at least one of these, meaning my guesses were good and I'm not completely clueless about reality. Just please reply with a bunch of letters. There are no wrong answers, so I will not dispute, and I will promise you will never hear from me again. I hope you choose A and we can chat soon, Pete. Oof, that stings, doesn't it? It took everything I had not to make a snarky comment after each letter. That was a sarcastic bitch that was coming out in me. I needed some time to process all of this and decide how to deal with it appropriately. It took me a day to think about how to respond. He was just an innocent dude trying to find true love without having any natural people skills. So this was my response. Hey Pete, nothing tragic happened. Had to work the next day and didn't have time to appropriately respond to your very detailed email. I don't have any letters to add to my response. You are simple and perfect in your own way. We didn't vibe and we aren't meant for each other. It doesn't mean you were wrong or bad at anything. Keep being you and keep your head and your heart open. Good luck with life, Pete. Cheers, Hadley. We never spoke again, and that was the last match date that I went on.
And that was Miranda Oh, reading a sample chapter from her latest book, Just Breathe. It is book 3 in the Chin Up series. It's available now, so don't forget to click the link in the show notes for everything about Miranda and this book. You don't want to miss out on those. While you're in there, don't forget to click the links for our sponsors and networks alike, and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out next week when I come back with another author, a new book, and a new sample chapter. Hang in there, everybody. We're going to get through this together, and I can't wait to talk to you again real soon. God bless.
This has been a presentation of the Project Entertainment Network.